Yeah, so in this talk, I'm just going to give a bit of an overview of down here, bit of overview of my learnings of building tech products. So I've built quite a lot of tech products over my time, and I'm going to try and in sort of 20 minutes or so just give a bit of a crash course on some of the key things I see, mistakes and things I've learned from founders, plus building stuff myself around building tech products and how to build tech products and launch tech products, specifically software, not necessarily hardware. I don't really deal in the hardware side of businesses. So yeah, today's talk is going to be a bit about love. So I made these slides last week when it was Valentine's, so I'll put a bit of love in there. Research, building. A common question I get is to outsource or not. And then I'll wrap up the talk with a little bit of a presentation just about me and kind of stuff we do and products we make and stuff like that. So number one, love. I really like this quote from Paul Graham. It's much better to have 100 users love your product than have 1 million kind of like you. So the reason I think this is a really interesting quote and I find it really, really useful is so many founders come to me and they want to build this sort of huge tech platform, some sort of app, some sort of website that's kind of all singing, all dancing. It's got to be super scalable and it's got to have all these features and be really, really rich product. But actually, when you're founding or starting a tech product, it's much better to build something that is really good for a small number of people. So if you can get 100 people that really love your product, they'll teach you what else you need to build in your product, and they'll help you scale that product through referrals and talking to people. And quite often people are always looking to build this sort of huge tech business. They look at Instagram, Facebook, Airbnb, these kind of guys. They're like, I need to build something like that. But in order to get to there, you need to start off really early. And quite often, the worst place to be when you're building a tech product, or I think any product actually, is in that what I call the lukewarm stage, where nobody really doesn't like your product. No one really likes your product. You just get tumbleweed. So no one's telling you your product's bad. No one's telling you it's good. It's much better to have, like, even if you get 100 bad reviews, at least it means people care about the problem that you're looking to solve. So I think just thinking about this when you're starting to build a tech product, about how do you just get a small number of people really loving your product? When I come to the build stage, you'll see why this is quite important. And actually, it's extremely hard to build a product that people love. So if you think about products that you love, there's not that many of them. It's really challenging. It's really hard. I think a good example if someone loves your product is if you take it away, how annoyed do they get? I think is one of the best indicators if someone loves your product. For example, I changed my Netflix password, and within like 10 minutes, 5 members of my family messaged me being like, has the Netflix password changed? And that's a sign that someone loves your product and they use it lots and lots. So how do you build these kind of products? And it's extremely hard. And I'm gonna be honest here, I've got a graveyard of products that we've made that have been lukewarm, not super good. Some of these have commercially been all right. So some of these have made me money. We've sort of grown them and scaled them. Some of them haven't been so successful, but overall, even with some of these products that have done quite well for us, not many of them I'd say that people really love. And some of them have had challenging retention. And these are all products actually we've closed down now since we started them and launched them. So, and some of these have won prizes as well. So we've won awards for these products and had a large number of users. But having that sort of love for your product is really, really key, especially with tech, because the landscape's so competitive. So if you're building tech products, there's so much competition out there that you have to really be sort of 10, 20 times better. So I'm just sort of showing this as a bit of a graveyard of stuff that we've built and made, sometimes full builds, sometimes prototypes. That's really been quite hard. It's really tough to get that product that people love. So the sort of key learning to start off is don't build it and hope that people will use it. So this is something that I see quite a lot is people presume if I just build the tech, make it, and suddenly loads of people will start using it. So really think about why you're building the tech. And this is where I think you really need to do some research in how to build your product. Quite often people just skip this step. They think, oh, I know what my users need, go out and start building it. And then they end up wasting loads of money and it's really challenging. So how do you do research? I think the best way to do research really is just really look at what people are actually doing. So the best way to create products people love is really understand what people are doing and then work out what the problems are and then try and solve that problem better than anyone else. This is one of the key differences I think about normal products and tech products is the barriers to entry are quite low. The solutions could be sold all around the world. So you really need to work out what it is that you do better than everyone else. And that's a really key bit of this sentence, is better than everyone else, because you have to compete with everyone else if you're going to be in the tech SaaS software market, because it's so easy to spin up a tech startup and build a product and start selling it online, if you know what I mean. So you really need to work out what are people doing and how are you really making it better compared to everyone else. Then when you're doing research, really focus on what people do is a lot better than what they say they do. A great example of this is if you ask someone what their morning routine is, they'll be like, oh, well, I usually get up, I meditate, I do some exercise, I then drink a coffee, I then read a book, and I do something else. And this is like an idealistic view of what they do. But then actually, if you go in their homes and watch them wake up, they might do that one day a week, maybe twice a week. It's unlikely they do that 5 days a week. And then what they do on the other days is always quite interesting. So it's much better to focus on what people do rather than what they say they do when you're kind of doing this research. I always think actions in the past are greater than potential actions in the future. So I see a lot of startups do this where they'll go speak to a load of customers and they'll be like, oh, if I build this product, will you use it on your next meeting or the next time you're looking to outreach to customers? And of course, people are going to say yes, because it's easy to say yes to something in the future that you don't have to commit to. Whereas it's much better to focus on actions in the past. So what did they actually do in the past? And did they search for these tools? Did they use these tools? And what did they actually do in the past? Another key one is it's much better to have data from people you don't know rather than data from your friends and family. So again, a big founder mistake is they'll just go and ask their friends and family what they do, how they do things, and they might not even be in their target market. They might just think, oh, that'll be easy, I'll go ask them. It's much easier to do that than go find a bunch of random people that are in your target market that you want to ask. So really focus on getting people you don't know is much better. So how do you do this? There's kind of 3 techniques we use. Interview people. So I get a load of people on a call like this. I'll ask them to do the task that I'm looking to solve, and then I'll record the whole process so I can actually see what they're doing, get them to share their screen, and then I'll work out how we can unpick what they're doing and how we can improve that process. And I think recording is really key, because if you watch a talk, like even like you watch this talk I'm doing now, as soon as you get off the call, you sort of forget what actually happened and what people do. Whereas if you've got a recording of it, you can really see what they're doing. And you can also start to compare what they say they do versus what they're actually physically doing as well. If you're a less tech sort of focused business, I quite often just get founders to watch people. So if you, for example, run a gym and you want to add some tech to your gym, quite often you can just watch people, see what they do, see where the problems are, see where the bottlenecks are, see what's causing challenges. And again, if you can record this, again, it makes it much easier if you've got like a load of recordings to watch and see where examples are happening and having examples of stuff that's working. And then finally, the third one we really like is data. And in this, I mean, data, quite often when people think about data, they presume you need tons of data, loads of analytics. You need to be an expert in statistics or something like that in order to work with this, but keep it really simple. For example, one of our products, Hey There, we built, I just asked people to check their emails and see how many introductions they made last month and then rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how much it impacted their business. So it doesn't have to be a huge analytics project. You can just get some simple data, put it in an Excel sheet and start working some stuff out and try and work out what people are doing as well. And a bit of, this is probably my favorite book on customer research and working out how to speak to your customers. You probably read this book in the morning. It's not very thick, but it's a really, really good book, I think, on how to do customer research as well. So now to the second stage, probably the bit that most people just skip to. So most people want to be building stuff and making stuff. So how do you build tech products and what's our process of doing it? And I think the key here is how do you do it with little money? So this is always the challenge. And I especially see this with venture-backed companies. They don't really have this problem because they've just got loads of money. So they'll just spend tons of money building tech products. and quite often, because they've got lots of money, they waste a lot of it. Whereas I think if you're trying to self-fund or get something off the ground, or you're looking to raise investment, you really want to try and build something with as little money as possible to prove that prove your problem and prove that your product works. And I'm going to use some case studies here as well, some examples that I've done and some other sort of businesses as well. So I see the 4 stages of building. We have these kind of 4 stages of building that we use when it comes to making a product. And the first 2, I think people don't really think about. They usually jump to stage 3, and then 4 is sort of not too relevant until you get a lot bigger. But what we call stage 1 is what we call Wizard of Oz. So try your idea manually without building a product or any tech. Pretend it's real, and then try and sell it to people and see if they'll pay you for it. So obviously, if you're doing this, it's going to be really manual. It's not going to be scalable. But the real key here is you're testing to see whether it works, and you're also trying to learn what tech you actually need to build. Here's a couple of examples of companies that do this. So Clara is an AI scheduling tool. So when this company founded, they actually just began by manually, it's basically a tool to schedule meetings, like an AI tool to schedule meetings. But they actually just had an email account you could email, and then they'd manually organize the meeting via email. And then they gradually used that as a data set to build the AI for them to do it automatically. So they actually just started with an email that you could email with 2 people that you want to make a meeting with. And then that gave them all the data and everything they needed, and they got paying customers. And then they slowly built the tech they needed to make it work. Another example, this is a personal one for mine. I wanted to build this product called Productivity Me. It was basically a chatbot coach for productivity. So rather than build anything, I just got a bunch of people that I thought was in my target market and said, would you pay me this much for a productivity bot? Some said yes. And then I signed them up, and then all I did was use WhatsApp basically, and I did it all myself. So someone would text me, I'd make these automated messages, I'd send them to them. And I didn't tell the people it was me. I said it was like an automated bot. And what I found is people enjoyed it for a short period of time, but after about 2 weeks to a month, they started dropping off, and then they started canceling. So it was quite a good indicator of, actually, if I built the chatbot, this isn't going to work, because people, the retention wasn't there. Even when I was doing it manually and having me involved in it and doing a lot of steps, it didn't quite work. So these are just good examples where you don't necessarily need to build anything in order to launch a tech product. The next one is what I call the building block stage. So this is where you use like no-code tools like Excel, Bubble, Typeform, email, Zapier, Squarespace, Shopify, and you basically just like butcher these tools together to form your first product. So basically, you're just getting all these different SaaS products that you can just sort of try and get them to connect. There might be some manual steps in between. There might be some copying, but basically, you're trying to build your product for maybe a SaaS fee of like £100, £200 for these different products, and just trying to get them all to connect. They're not going to work perfectly, but you can get a really good flow of what you're trying to build. And again, you're spending like, maybe you could spend at most £500 a month, and you've kind of got something that you can start selling to people. So some good examples of this. A big one is DoorDash. They started with a Google Doc, the founder's phone, and a car. So the founder basically just took orders. So DoorDash is like a delivery basically. They just took orders from the founders, and they personally delivered the food. They go to the shop, pick it up, and then do the food. That company's now worth 46 billion. So as you can see, they started with like a building block mentality, and then now they've built out a lot more tech. And then there's a startup I was helping. I've just called them Ethical Cosmetics because I'm under NDA, but this is a startup I was helping, and they wanted to do something very similar with subscription boxes for ethical cosmetics. So I just said to them, build a Squarespace page, a Typeform, and then they went and personally bought the products just from shops, put them in a box, and then went and hand delivered them, and then took payment for the box with just a little, like one of those little handheld payment devices you can get. So again, they launched the startup all with less than sort of £200 a month to get started. And then you can really start to see if people are paying customers, you can start growing revenue, and then you can start getting some money in the business and trying to work out which bit of tech you need to build to scale your organization. Number 3 is probably the most common one, and where most people start, is the minimum viable product. You've probably heard of this, but it's basically just building the first version of your product with limited number of features you can, and just the essential parts of your product that you need. I think the key thing here, I always see that most founders make mistakes with, is they always go too far with the MVP. So it should be unfinished. It should be embarrassing. It might crash every now and then. It just needs to be really basic, and you should be sort of a little bit ashamed of it, but it should just offer enough value that people want to pay for your service. And you can build this yourself, or you can hire a team to do it as well. So great examples. Airbnb is probably the best example of this. They just started with one property and a single page website, secured their first customer, and then the rest is sort of history. Or example, when we launched Hey There, we just used a one-page website, a single template, and a contacts list that took us sort of, I think it was about a day or two to build. And that was enough to get our first paying customer. And then you build out the rest of the features as people pay you, and you build out the tool. Finally, I won't talk too much about this stage, because once you've got your MVP working and you've got paying customers and they're giving you feedback, usually you find at this stage, the tech is pulled by the customer. So you're scaling out, you're trying to keep up with customer demand, you're kind of trying to fix bugs, enhance the product. Customers are asking for new features, and you're just on that sort of treadmill of building, scaling, making it more efficient, doing new versions, improving the back end. And it's kind of where you'd either hire a team or have an agency helping you build this. So quickly, another question I always get asked is to outsource or not. I kind of break this down into two parts. I think you should build a tech team if your core product is tech. So what do I mean by that? I think if you fit into the tech category of a SaaS business or a marketplace or a platform business, and that's your core, tech is your core part of your company, I think you should be building the tech team internally. So an example could be an online marketplace for classic cars, an app to virtually try on and purchase sunglasses, an AR corporate training, any of these where they're like tech is the core of their business. I kind of feel like you should be building that technical team and expertise in-house. Where I think outsourcing does work is if your product is something else that is enabled by tech. So a good example of this is like a hair salon that wants to start scaling through online teaching, a farmer selling veg boxes online. In these examples, the core product is getting your hair cut or farming, but you want some sort of digital element to help you scale. I kind of think in that example, you want to keep your expertise, and then maybe you might use an agency or freelancers to outsource it. But with most of these, my personal preference is I tend towards building a tech team. So hiring skilled experts can significantly speed up the development and allow you to do lots of changes faster. And early stage founders as well, if you're not technical, I think you should try and find generalists when it comes to coding. So people that can handle a wide range of tasks, they can do the front end, back end, lots of different coding types. And I kind of call them the hackers you want to try and find that will just build anything as long as you ask them to do it. And when you're thinking about hiring these people, I always recommend people to do it on a freelance or short-term contract to begin with, see if they deliver, see if they offer you what you want, and then scale up and hire them full-time or make them your a sort of co-founder with you, or whichever way you want to do that. So finally, just to wrap up, I know it's been quite quick, but just a little bit about me and I guess what we do. So yeah, my background is, as mentioned at the start, so I'm a co-founder CEO of Bounce Technologies. I love building products. So I've built tech products for 25 years from large corporates. I used to run an innovation lab to start my own company. I've also mentored and supported a lot of other tech companies to get off the ground. I have a doctorate in computer science. And then if I'm not building tech, I'm a kind of a hobby investor in both startups and public markets. So I spend most of my time if I'm not building stuff, I'm either looking at companies to invest in or startups that I can help in some way. A little bit about Bounce Technologies. So we are a software studio building humble, honest software. So a couple of our core products that we've built that sort of make most of our revenue, Text Compare. So it's a small tool that runs on your Mac that allows you to compare text. So it's used by content designers, developers, legal professionals. We have Font Smoothing Adjuster. This is an open source project that allows you to disable font smoothing on your Mac. So this is a free tool that we open source and people sponsor us to keep it running. It's mainly used by designers. And the final one, probably our main product now, is Hey There. So this is an introduction tool for super connectors and community managers to help them better connect their networks together and make email introductions. And we also have a Slack bot that makes it super easy to make emails. We have a LinkedIn extension as well that allows you to pull contacts details to make your introductions much faster and quicker. Either if you're looking to build a network or using introductions as a way to get sales is probably the other key area we work with as well. So just quickly to wrap up, because I know we haven't got much time. One is build a product that a few people love. Two is don't build it and just hope that people will come and use it. Really do some research before that. I think number three is research what people actually do. So really focus on what they actually do, not what they say or they might do. Number four is remember the 4 stages of building to keep it cheap. So Wizard of Oz, building blocks, MVP, and then bespoke. And then 5, have fun. Like building something new in the world is incredibly exciting, but also incredibly challenging. So I think you've got to have some fun along the way. So that's it. So a bit short and sweet. And I guess, is there any questions, anything like that?
Thank you, Chris. That's fantastic. Any questions from anyone on that this afternoon? Gideon.
Thanks, Ollie, and thanks, Chris. That was really interesting, and I'm really pleased that you didn't recommend skipping that second stage, because I work in research. So thank you, appreciate that. I'm just looking at your LinkedIn page, and I was interested by the way that you described yourself as a humble, honest software. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Where's the dishonesty? Maybe what should people be watching out for?
Yeah, I think one of the key changes I see in tech, I think, and especially if you're trying to get an agency and stuff like this, I think a lot of people were quite happy to take a sort of 50K, 100K project and tell you need to build some app or build some website. You come with a design and they'll go, great, cool, let's do it. You know what I mean? I think there's just a lot of people out there that they won't ask the question why, or even recommend, actually, I think you need to go do some more research here, or you need to go think about, do you really know the problem? You'll come to them, you'll say, look, I've found this problem, I want to solve it. I've got between 20 to 100K, depending how wealthy you are. And they'll go, great, we'll build that. And then they'll spend 6 months, 12 months building it. And then you launch it and then nobody will use it. So I think for me, that's kind of where we come back to this kind of humble, honest software. And I think the other one is like, just internally as our culture, we have a very sort of unique culture in terms of like our transparency. For example, everyone knows everyone's salaries. Everyone knows pretty much everything about the business. They can have our accounts. They can see how much money we make. They can see where our revenue comes from. So there's kind of a company side of that around transparency as well, because we just find as a business, it just saves a lot of headaches. It's much easier just to be honest, open, and transparent, and it sort of builds the right culture. So we like to portray that on the outside as well, where that's how we try and treat our clients, that's how we try and treat our employees, and it just sort of keeps it all nice and simple, I think.
Cool, thank you. I think that's a really fantastic value to have. So yeah, love it.
Thanks, Gideon. Caroline.
Yeah, really inspiring, actually. Thank you for sharing that. I've actually connected with you on LinkedIn because I pretty much do the same thing as you, and I'd love to chat more. But I'd love to understand, so who would you say is your ICP or your ideal customer? I mean, kind of from a startup to scale up or growth, where would you put yourself?
Yeah, so we have, so before we used to be a bit of an agency. So we used to have a sort of software agency we run on the side. That's changed a bit now, and we tend to do more consulting. So if it's startups or startup founders, we'll do a sort of consultancy stuff. I'm going to be honest, that's become less part of our business as we've scaled our own products. So ideally, we're going to be, we want our revenue to be 80% our own products, 20% fun, interesting, exciting stuff that someone wants to build, and we can help them. So that's kind of our focus. So the main market really for us at the moment is Hey There. So any community managers, membership managers, and super connectors, that's a key market we're really focusing on. The second one is text compare, which is the kind of legal content designers and stuff like that. And then the third one is kind of our little consultancy slash trying to find crazy people that want to build something fun and interesting, and we try and help them. That's kind of anything that's
partnership, actually, because I tend to do the same thing, but we don't do the build bit. So I'd love to kind of talk more and see how we work together.
And we tend to stay away from anything that's I guess what we call just normal. So if it's like I need a website built, there's loads of really good agencies that can build your website. If I need to build something, if someone tells us they want to build something and the whole team goes, I don't know how we're going to do this, that's when we get excited. That kind of like, I don't know, someone's got a crazy project they want to try and launch, then, and we're like, I don't know how we're going to build this. That's where
it's also the way that you approach it in a creative way. So you kind of look for like you know, is the lowest fidelity and the cheapest way to do it to start with. And then you kind of, you know, that's almost the less money makes you more creative, and that's the kind of fun bit.
Yeah, and it's kind of where we do a bit less. We do a bit less of the build now, because most of the time we're just recommending customers not to build stuff. So it's quite hard to sell the build when you're. So it's kind of where we do a bit more consultancy.
That's why we don't build.
Yeah, because quite often most people, I'm telling people not to spend their money, and I'd rather just help them do the research and do the low fidelity stuff, and then they can work out what they need to build. And if they want to use us or someone else, that's kind of fine at that point as well.
Brilliant. We sing from the same hymn sheet. High five. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Caroline. Mark.
Not really a question, really a comment, a very positive comment. I thought it was a great presentation. I've been doing this stuff for like 40 years, and I think your presentation was what I would call dripping with wisdom. And my suggestion to Ollie, I think you're recording this. This should go into the sort of founders startup induction pack. If you're doing anything with software, you've got to listen to this presentation because it really is dripping with wisdom. I think the first sort of 10 minutes or so about going out to talk to real customers, not friends. I used to summarize as don't believe your own bullshit. I came across a number of companies or individuals, let's say, who just believed that they were doing the right thing. And this belief came from somewhere inside them, and it was nearly always wrong. So I thought it was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much.